I'm gonna make Delicata squash because it's one of my absolute favorite fall vegetables, fall squashes. They pop up probably early in the season in fall, earlier than most squash, and they don't last as long. Usually you find acorn squash and butternut squash all the way through winter, but these are definitely more of an early fall finding. So get them while you can. What I love about them is that they are super sweet and mild in flavor, and their skin is not very tough, which means that you don't have to peel them and you could just cut them into rings. I'm gonna roast them in the simplest technique, a high heat. I'm not gonna overcrowd the pan, so they get a nice caramelization on them. And then I'm gonna make an agrodolce sauce. Agrodolce basically means sweet and kind of tart and tangy at once. I'm gonna also add another layer of spice in there. So it's gonna be honey and some lime juice, and I'm gonna cook this down, and it's gonna become a syrup that I'm gonna kind of drizzle over. It's such a simple recipe. But for me, cooking is a creative outlet, and I really love to play, and I wanna encourage you guys to play. So rather than following the recipe verbatim, I don't really have a roadmap. I'm gonna just like see what I have in my pantry, see what I have in my kitchen, and I'm just gonna play around with flavors. Because that's the fun of cooking, right? Taking risks, learning how to trust your palate, learning what you like and what you don't like, learning what flavors work together and what flavors like don't work together, but in that not working together, in that contrast that they create, it actually makes it more interesting. So you're never gonna know that if you just follow a recipe. You need to trust your instincts and you need to just play around. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Let's hope today it does, since I'm filming this for you. Okay, well, follow along, guys. Let's see what I come up with, and happy fall. Somebody recently asked me how to get through the Delicata squash with ease and that they get a little nervous. I would say the answer to that is to really make sure that you get your knives sharpened regularly. When you sharpen your knife, it should not fight against you. It should actually really help you. Also, this is called the belly of the knife, and you should always go in like a rocking motion, kind of like from forward to the belly of the knife. So start at the beginning, a third down, put pressure, and then move forward in a forward sweeping motion to the belly of the knife. That should really help you get through it. So as mentioned before, I love that these do not need to be peeled. The skin is quite thin and it's edible. So I'm cutting these into a little less than an inch, maybe 3/4 inch discs. I have 2 Delicata squash here. So in order to get your seeds out, basically just take a small spoon, teaspoon, will do. This is a little smaller than a teaspoon, and just run it along the inside edge, dropping those seeds directly into a bowl. There you have it. You've got some rings. I'm going to put these in an even layer, not overcrowding, because we want them to caramelize. If we overcrowd, they will steam against one another. I'm even gonna put this one with the little tip of the squash in there, because I think it just, and the butt, I just think it makes for interesting visual interest. I am going to drizzle with olive oil. By the way, I have my oven at 400 degrees, nice and hot. Some honey, which will help sweeten and also help with the caramelization. I'm gonna give these a toss. You could do this in a bowl if you prefer, but I'm avoiding an extra step. So this isn't in the recipe in Cook Beautiful, but I'm also gonna put some shallots because we really love shallots in our family, and this is going to be my late afternoon lunch, and why not just kind of add a little something something to a recipe that I often make. So I just took 1 shallot, right? I cut it in half, and then I cut each half in half again. All right, let's throw these shallots onto the pan. Let's get some fresh cracked pepper. I'm not gonna put any salt right now. Reason being is that sometimes when you add salt, they're not gonna get as caramelized because the salt pulls out water in any vegetable or any meat, any protein. One final thing before I pop those in the oven is some Fresno chili. Olive oil, and then put these in the oven. I'm going to make the Agrodolce. I'm going to start with champagne vinegar. You could use white wine vinegar as well. About 1/3 cup. I'm also going to juice 1 lime, but before I juice it, I'm going to zest it. You know, limes are a little tricky. Sometimes you get a lot of juice out of them and sometimes you don't. So whenever I'm supposed to just use 1 lime, I always kind of get 2 or 3 just in case it's not a juicy one. So I have lots of acid, which is going to give it that kind of tart, sour, tangy quality. And then added to that is some honey. I'm going to take probably about 2 tablespoons of honey. I'm going to use the other half of that Fresno chili. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna use all of this. You could always add spice, but you cannot take away. So I'm gonna use a small bit, maybe like this amount at the tip of my knife, and put it into our sauce. And I'm gonna let this simmer and reduce. So I just took these golden raisins and I put them into our acidic liquid as it's reducing on the stove. I want these raisins to really suck up and absorb all of that tangy tart liquid as well as a little bit of the spice so that the raisins become plump, and when you bite into them they're like a little kind of burst of flavor. While that's reducing, I'm gonna take some kasha and some Marcona almonds and I'm gonna give them a little bit of a toast and then a chop. Mix them up with a little bit of that lime zest and some parsley. And once I drizzle the Agrodolce over, then I'm gonna put this kind of crunchy textural element on top. I'm gonna put some olive oil in this pan, get it nice and toasty. And then I'm gonna put this kasha, which is buckwheat, and these Marcona almonds, and I'm gonna get them nice and golden. A little less than a 1/4 cup of these almonds. And then again, about a little less than a 1/4 cup, basically 1/8 of a cup of the kasha. This is about 15 minutes. I'm gonna give them all a little flip. Okay, so I've gone ahead and separated the kasha and the almonds. Truth be told, I definitely made a mistake. These are different sizes. They're gonna cook at a different rate. I probably should have put the almonds in first, let them get a little brown, and then put in the kasha. So we all make mistakes and hopefully we all learn from them. So here are some green Sicilian olives. This is not in the recipe in Cook Beautiful. I'm just kind of playing here. I am squashing the olives with the back of my knife to kind of release the pit. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There we go. The final thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna chop up some Italian parsley. The recipe in Cook Beautiful calls for sage, and while I really love sage paired with squash, again, I just want to try something new because I make it with sage all the time. So just switching it up. I have all of my accoutrements here ready to go. These just came out of the oven. They are gorgeously golden. I'm going to begin to put these onto the plate. Smaller guys on top. You want some to overlap. I'm also going to take some of these shallots. Here is my Agrodolce sauce. I put it with my raisins. I'm going to drizzle that just over. Got my kasha. my almonds. And then that bit of green vibrancy from our herbs and our olives. So I just finished plating my squash with Agrodolce and with raisins and olives and kasha. I actually forgot when I was plating it for you guys to put some lime zest because it's always nice to have that brightness on the finish. And then I never salted, so just a little bit of Maldon sea salt. And then I'm gonna eat some. I'm gonna get a little bit of olive and a little bit of a raisin and a shallot on one bite. So many different flavors happening at once. I'm super pleased with the additions I made to the recipe. You guys should definitely try this, like for real.